Good morning, viewers at home. Welcome to the program SuperDawn. I am Vera. Also on this edition of the program. It's a sweet morning, and yesterday was another event in the sporting world where I said yesterday before we went off the program that Juventus was going to win. So someone is owing me a plate of pepper soup because the person was actually undermining the power of Juventus. It happened yesterday again, where they crushed. Okay, let me leave that. When we get to the sports segment, we'll talk more on that. But that was a fantastic outing yesterday. I'm not alone here. Yes.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, Vera. Good morning, Anthony. It's another wonderful day on SuperDawn this morning. It's a Thursday, counting down to the weekend. I don't know how you guys are feeling about it, but for me, the excitement has already begun already.
What's with this weekend that you and Vera are always clamoring about on Thursdays and on Fridays? I mean,
there's a lot to it.
On Thursdays and on Fridays, I'm very busy. On weekends, I'm very busy. Anyway, my name is Anthony Osaigovo, and welcome to SuperDawn, and I'm with Vera, the legendary.
Thank you, Anthony. We are all busy as a media person, so we don't have a day to ourselves. You have an event, Super Screen will be there live to help you cover it even another Sunday. And trust our packaging, they're superb. That's it. But today on this program, what we usually do is go through the papers, open the phone lines for you to call. We start with that and make your contribution. But today we're going to look at something very, very important, and we're looking at the stock market impacting the capital market. So we want to look at our capital market and how viable that can be. It's supposed to be, but where we are, most times we have instability in the market. So we're going to be looking at the capital market today, and also we want to look at human trafficking and also illegal migration. Nigerian route is usually open for people to migrate from one country to the other, but sometimes these people tend not to get all their documentation right, and so they want to go through the Mediterranean Sea and find their way with illegal means, and some of them end up dead on the way, some of them battered, some of them you don't want to know what they go through, the torture they go through because they feel, hey, Nigeria is not good enough for us, we don't have monies, and so we can take through the dangerous route, which is not good at all. So we're going to be treating that today and looking at the implementations of some policies and looking at the menace this has really caused, and also the the stigma it's causing even to those outside the country. We'll look at all of this morning, and we're going to open the phone lines for you to call, make your contributions, and we have some guests that will be treating that this morning. But for now, let's go on this break. When we come back, we take some few stories in the papers. Let's go on a quick break. We'll be right back.
SuperDawn, your daily live current affairs program, where topical issues that border on politics, economy, sport, and sizzling national issues are analyzed, now holds every Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Superscreen Television. Let your voice be heard. Join us.
Welcome back. It's the newspaper review segment, and the first story this morning we're taking is from the Daily Trust, and this says, why I declared before trip to the UK, Buhari. And the writer says, APC door still open for other aspirants. President Muhammadu Buhari has said he declared his intention to run for another term in office earlier than he planned because the issue had dominated political discourse in the country. His spokesperson, Mr. Femi Adesina, in a statement, quoted him as saying this yesterday while receiving the Archbishop from London, His Grace Justin Wilber in London. The president said, I declared before leaving home because Nigerians were talking too much about whether I could run or not, so I felt I should break the ice. Now he's broken the ice. Yes, he's broken the ice.
Yes, yes. The truth is, we've been talking about it. Definitely in the media, there's this controversy, not controversy, but there's this discussion that has been going on whether or not the president would, run for office for a second term. We even talked about it yesterday. We talked about it the day before yesterday. So I think it was only right that the president came out with his intention, but I think it was a little bit late.
Late, okay. What about you?
We've broken the ice, and then the president, like we all know, has the constitutional right to recontest. So it all depends on us in 2019.
Yeah, you cannot take that away from him. He has the right.
Yes.
And,
yes.
It depends on us, according to Blessed this morning. We have this court frees two Boko Haram suspects for want of evidence. Federal High Court in Abuja yesterday discharged two persons, Ibrahim Ahmed and Sani Agungu, alleged ties with Boko Haram for lack of diligent prosecution. This is what I don't really like. Before you begin your investigation, you must get facts, and before you begin to go to court,
yes.
you must get appropriate facts.
Have concrete evidence on ground, because it is foolish to stand. It is foolish to stand before a judge without your concrete facts, and then you want him you want to prosecute.
But the action has already been taken, and it's like a punishment has been taken before the person has been found guilty. It's still an allegation. I think it's only right that that this is looked into.
Yeah, before there is an allegation,
yes.
As the right bodies, I think you need to get some thorough investigation
exactly, certainly,
so you can pin down those people. But if you don't get it and they are actually suspects,
yes,
you cannot pin them down because they are suspects. But you need to do full investigation, because they might be guilty anyway.
Sure, certainly.
But if you don't have enough evidences, if you don't have enough facts, they will be freed and they can cause more harm
havoc
to the
society.
So you need to get more facts before you start any process.
And this is a very keen situation. So I think this investigation has to be looked into thoroughly, because this involvement in Boko Haram, it's something that we political analysts have been talking about, that the government, the people in office are conniving with the Boko Haram insurgents, and that is why they have been finding it very difficult to be nabbed. So yes, they should be looked into thoroughly.
Okay, I'm just going to take few of the stories, then we'll move to the next paper. Nigeria and U.S. Army to hold security summit. To hold summit on security. We also have in the papers this morning, gunmen killed 10 in fresh Benue attacks, 4 in Nasarawa. In the papers, finally, I'll take from here, it says 15 teachers robbed at Bengringiwa. Well, you need to get the story, the punch, you read more story on that.
It's over to me now for Vanguard newspaper this morning. Oh, Vera, used to taking the punch?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Vanguard this morning, on the front page, we have herdsmen farmers clashes, blame Gaddafi, irresponsible politician, and that's coming from our President Muhammadu Buhari. And on the right, we have a lot here. Says he was compelled to declare due to pressure, effort on to release Christian Dapchi girl, Lash Sharibu, herdsmen attacks, extension of Boko Haram, and that's coming from Governor of Benue State, Autumn. Fresh attack on Benue communities, claim 15 lives. Okay, and still on the front page of the Vanguard this morning, Buhari extends Vade's deadline to June 30. I will quit if people in power try to influence me, and that's coming from the registrar of JAM. You can get the story on the Vanguard this morning. I'll just quickly go through this story. the attacks on Benue community, which the governor said is an extension of terrorism. Governor Samuel Otom of Benue State has described herdsmen attack on Benue State as an extension of terrorism being perpetrated by Boko Haram in the northeast. Governor Otom was reacting to Tuesday night coordinated attack on communities in Logo and Ukum local government areas of the state by suspected herdsmen, where 15 people, including a 75-year-old man, was reportedly killed. Another attack again in Benue State.
Well, it's a really sad one. When I heard of that attack, it's really sad. You know, it's sad in my heart, where people kill at will, lives you cannot bring back. You know, and I don't know what the governments are really doing. I know that they're trying. We've heard where military arrested some people. But I really want a proactive measures.
Measures, exactly.
Because these guys are looking as though they are not retreating. And so if we begin to, I think there needs to be a stiff penalty. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think we need to do something.
But Anthony, do you think it's an extension of terrorism as said by the government?
Definitely it is. There is no way to look at it. I'm not saying they should be declared terrorists, but to an extent, these when you define terrorism, I mean everything they have done, killings and all, you know, it just goes in line with terrorism. So
all right, still on the Vanguard this morning, and this will surprise you. Nigerians population now 198 million, and we are the 7th largest in the world, and that's coming from the National Population Commission. I'll quickly take the story. The population of Nigeria is pegged at an estimated 198 million, according to the National Population Commission, NPC. NPC Chairman Eze disclosed this in New York while delivering Nigeria's statements on sustainable cities, human mobility and international migration at the 51st section of Commission on Population and Development. Nigerian population is now pegged at 198. I mean, we are really growing fast in this country, you know. And I'm really just wondering, considering something else now, do we really have enough on ground now to take care of this growing population?
Okay, resources, yes. Administrative wise, if we have the manpower, yes. But are we using our resources to better our economy, to you know, fend for the country? That's a big no for me. Okay. So yes, we have what it takes, but I guess we need to do more as regards trying to fend for the situation of the country. Okay,
but I don't know, but I know that usually government tell us what to spend. We don't know, it doesn't come regularly, but you see budget, and we have budget, but maybe it's not reflecting downwards. We should begin to look at the grassroots. Are they really having what they expected? Do they have what they expected? Are they feeding? These are part of the things. Are they comfortable? It's not, can they get things, affordable things? What about education? Did they go to school? Do they have enough money to pay for school fees and care for at least 4 members of a family? These are the things I think government needs to start looking at, even though we know that they are doing some things, but they can be better.
But I just want to quickly say this, for those who are coming in terms of government for the next 4 years, should put this population in mind. So whatever they are doing,
it's hard.
Just have to.
We're increasing. I thought we shouldn't be increasing.
198 million people.
I thought by now, if you plan having 5 kids with this kind of economy, my God, you can have
you
just
have
2.
Everything about it.
Exactly.
Well, we have to move to the next paper. Yes, the Nation newspaper.
All right, that's all for me on Vanguard. It's over to Anthony for the Nation.
Okay, the Nation's newspaper, we have FEC OKs 61 billion naira for roads, seaports, and others. The Federal Executive Council, FEC, yesterday approved 61.464 billion naira for roads, dredging of seaports, and buildings of houses. Minister of Works, Power and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, and his counterparts in transportation, Rotimi Amechi, Interior, Abdurrahman Dambazwa, Water Resources, Sulaiman Adamu, Education, and the rest of them, The meeting, they had a meeting. The meeting was chaired by Vice President Yemi Osibanjo. Okay, enough of that story, but we just have FEC Oki's 61.64 billion for roads, dredging seaports, and building of houses. What do you have to say about that? I mean, knowing well that the situation in the country, the roads,
no,
the
you said
seaports.
what were we going to say about that?
Yes.
I was about answering that. Excuse me. Excuse me, please.
Sorry.
Every year, you hear the kind of amount that has been amassed for road construction, and you want to compare with what you're seeing physically, you begin to ask yourself a lot of questions. This money, where is it exactly is it going to? Because you're supposed to see it. Road isn't something that is invisible,
Exactly,
you know.
certainly.
And so you're supposed to say, hey, the government has done well in this. I say the going to the Ore Road is getting better by the day. Fine. But we are supposed to see other roads that this money is being used for. And you begin to wonder, when is it going to end? The Apapa Road is there. They've been trying to fix it for God knows when. They brought in Dangote to assist. There's a partnership right now.
Certainly.
When will this end? Are people going to go through the suffering with the roads? What's going to happen to the economy? Because infrastructure is very key to economy.
Of course.
The road where you transport goods from one end to the other is very important. And so what will happen if you keep putting monies in this place and we're not seeing enough of what we're supposed to see? Many questions. Maybe you should go ahead.
Okay, here we have minimum wage. Labour pushes for 66,500 naira. A zonal public hearing are to be staged across the country by tripartite committee on the new national minimum wage. The hearing will allow stakeholders to make their inputs into organized labor's fresh demand for 66,500 monthly salary for the least paid worker. This is saying definitely that we need 66.5 thousand as minimum wage. Comparing that, that's a good, I would say that's a good one. Comparing that to the 18,500 naira we have right now as the minimum wage, knowing fully well that it cannot even fend for your transportation. That is a good increment, if I would say.
I think, Anthony, if you compare the minimum wage of other countries, you realize that even the 66,500 naira is nothing. But I'll still appeal to the government, though, knowing the situation in ground in our country today, I'll still appeal to the government to give heed to labor's to what laborers are actually demanding of them. 66,500 is a good start. It's a good start compared to the 18,500 naira. At least we've talked about it here before. We've talked about it, and we have agreed that it is nothing compared to the situation of the economy as of today.
But we must look at realities. We don't have to pretend about what is happening right now. It is obvious that things have skyrocketed. Prices have gone high. And so if you're giving me 18,000, at times I've done that arithmetic and I don't know where that led me to. 18,000 naira for a sweeper is cleaning the office and you're giving that person 18. And maybe the person doesn't reside inside the office, of course. He was going to come in from his place or our place, from one location to the other.
Certainly.
And no bus driver, because you know all these commuters, they will not, and their conductors, they're not going to say enter for free because they are buying fuel for 145 per liter. And so if you're giving me 18,000 naira take home pay, my take home pay right now, I've been telling my boss, I'm guess he's watching me right now, it's not enough. So if you're giving someone 18,000 naira and you want the person to feed, not to steal, you want the person to go to the hospital, not for free. Even if it's government owned, you paid some stipend.
Yes.
You want the person to, my God.
And live a good life in general.
Good life in Nigeria with 18,000, that you must be joking. Anyway, we'll just move to the next. You have your last story there.
Okay, the last story. 5 arrested as police bust illegal brewery.
Wow.
The police yesterday uncovered an illegal brewery where malt drinks, stouts, and spirits are produced. Police Commissioner Imohi Edgar led detectives and reporters to the brewery located at Igba Afa, Igbogbo, Bayeku in Ikorodu. 5 persons were apprehended. Okay, let me just take this one. He says, he said the police uncovered the place following tip-off from residents. He said it was another success story of community partnership. Okay, this is saying that the community, the community actually contacted the police and told them that this is going on in our neighborhood.
It is very key for us to know what is going on in our environment, in our community where we actually live. Because if those people who live around them do not cry out, we certainly will know about what is going on. People will still have to buy these drinks and they will take them and it will be harmful to their health.
Of course, that's why you have diabetes in town, you have loads of things. Because I've been where, you know, as journalists, you go a lot of places with camera. You enter Lagos, you see where they sell labels of all of these drinks. A roll, a dozen, they're selling for 1,000 naira. And you're wondering, you're not the one that brew it, why are you selling the label here? Not knowing that they brew around that place, that area,
sure.
and they put loads of sugars and they put loads of chemicals. And this is causing lives, you know.
Exactly.
I think what Blessed said is very key. What happened in your environment is very important because you might just be saving a life.
That's certainly very
Okay, we'll move away from the nation. Now we want to take some stories in the Punch. And it says, herdsmen attack. Fresh killings in Benue as Buhari promises solution. We also have another one, 257 die in Algeria military plane crash. In the papers today in the Punch, we have federal government okays 56.7 billion for road construction, and that's Lagos Abeokuta road contract and others. We also have in the papers INEC, others urge private sector to fund elections. 5 police cooperative officers arrested for fraud. Finally, marketers cheat using your name. DPR tells NNPC. So marketers are cheating using NNPC. DPR got that out and they have just told NNPC. I hope that they'll know what to do from that end. This is where we stop this segment. We want now to move to the next segment. We're looking at the menace of illegal immigration and human trafficking in Nigeria. We'll be right back.
SuperDawn, your daily live current affairs program where topical issues that border on politics, economy, sport, and sizzling national issues are analyzed. Now holds every Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Superscreen Television. Let your voice be heard. Join us.
Bad breath, also known as halitosis or fetoris, affects an estimated 25% of people globally. There are a number of potential causes of halitosis, but the vast majority come down to oral hygiene. Halitosis can cause significant worry, embarrassment, and anxiety, but generally it is relatively easy to remedy. The most common cause of halitosis is bad oral hygiene. If particles of food are left in the mouth, they break down by bacteria producing sulfur compounds, and there are a number of common causes of bad breath, which include smoking, tooth decay, and alcohol consumption. Bad breath in children is often due to a trapped item in the nasal cavity. Bad breath is a common problem that can cause significant psychological distress. There are a number of potential causes and treatments of halitosis, which is the third most common reason that people seek dental care after tooth decay and gum disease. The specific odor of breath varies depending on the cause of the problem. It is best to ask a close friend or relative to gauge your mouth odor, as it is very difficult to access it yourself. If no one is at hand, one way of checking the odor is to lick your wrist, leave it to dry, and then smell it. If it smells bad, there is a strong chance your breath also smells bad. Some individuals are concerned about their breath even though they may have little or no mouth odor. This condition
Welcome back. Well, in this segment, we want to look at the menace of illegal migration and human trafficking in Nigeria. Most young people, will I say, most people like to move out of this country, out of the shores of this country. For them is to look for better life. And we want to look at it. Some of them, at the end of the day, you know, have very terrible experiences, and some of them doesn't even come back. They are not alive to give the story of all of the things that happened during this migration. We're going to be doing that with some ladies in the studios this morning. Beautiful ladies with me. I have ladies this morning to discuss with. First, I have Eniton. Eniton Birunke, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning, Vera.
And we also have here, Eniton is a migration research expert. We also have Ruth Okono, am I right? Okorion. Are you a Nigerian?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Good to have you here in the studios.
Thank you very much, Vera. Good morning.
Good morning to you once again. Well, I'm going to start with Eniton. Eniton, you are a migration research expert. And so this morning, we want to look at it. Why do we migrate? You must have had loads of experience from people. Tell us, why do we migrate?
Thank you very much, Vera. Good morning. Why do we migrate? Migration is a natural, inalienable human right. We have rights as human beings to move from one location to the other. Now, basically, there are many reasons why people migrate from their location to another place. One may be unemployment. Another reason could be education. Sometimes you also have issues of armed conflicts that make people have to leave their location to another location. However, one thing that we have found on the straight from our research, as my colleague has also said, is a prevalent sense of hopelessness.
Okay, before you continue, let me ask Ruth. Ruth when she meant hopelessness. Does it mean that the economy is so bad that people have lost hope? And so they want to migrate to another country to have better life?
Like she has rightly said, migration is a normal human phenomenon. The hopelessness in this case is not like the economy is entirely so bad, but young people just feel that it is better out there than in the country. There's still hope in Nigeria. A lot can be done in Nigeria by young people. With little amount of money, a lot can still be done, but they feel out there it is better than Nigeria.
But is it not better?
Well,
why is it bad migrating to look for livelihood?
Well, what we have realized and what we advocate for is that, yes, there is no place that is actually better than the other place. What really happens in most situations is the mindset of people. How do you actually view what you have? What do you have in your hand that you can do? There are many opportunities for young people in Nigeria. There are economic opportunities, there are programs that are being done by different organizations, and we encourage people to actually look within. Now, you may say, but then in other parts of the world, you have some stable situations, electricity, food, and for that reason, people might want to go, and like you said, Vera, yes, it might be slightly more interesting, but it's also hard work. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of risk also involved, because when you're leaving your country to another country and you haven't thought through the realities of what it is you're going to do there. Okay. Like you find with a lot of young people who actually just say, I just want to relocate. I want to go to the abroad. It's the abroad in their minds. My friend is there. I see them on different things. I see them and they're looking very nice. They're slaying and I want to go. And we say, it's not enough to just want to migrate. You need to have a plan. You need to know what you're going to do. Okay, let me ask Ruth. Have you had experiences from people, stories where these people migrate outside the country and they go through terrible situation? Can you tell us one or two that you've heard? Okay, yeah, I've had experiences, either direct or indirect experiences of people who have migrated, young people who have migrated. And for the fact that they migrated due to greener pastures, they believe out there is better than Nigeria, regardless of facts, regardless of figures, regardless of having a proper understanding of the terrain of their destination country, the policies and all that. Yes, I've had experiences, and some of them have been very, 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 very unpleasant. I've had stories. I've spoken to a lot of people, young people. I've even had direct experiences with relatives. Yeah, I've had experiences with relatives. Tell us one, because we need to know what happened so that people can get themselves educated. We need to know what happened, those stories you heard. Okay, the story is basically on irregular or illegal migration, and the fact that the route or the route, by which they leave Nigeria to go to Europe is very, very dangerous. The terrain is very bad. What we have discovered is that some of these young people go through Kanu, from Kanu to Niger, from Niger to Agadez, from Agadez they pass through the Mediterranean Sea to get to Libya, and then hopefully to their destination country. And a whole lot happen on the road. The desert is not where one should be, ideally, where a human being should be, ideally. They die of hunger, thirst. The women are raped. A lot of things happen to them. It's so unpleasant, and it is not what one would wish or one would suggest to a human being to pass through such difficult challenges and such difficult terrain. So that's it. Okay, but I know that Nigeria with the international bodies are not losing sleep. They are actually on this mission to stop it. Recently we heard what happened where countries were where countries were gathering themselves to help their other fellow citizenries outside the country in Libya. Yes. What happened? That was a very terrible experience. When I heard all of these things and saw some of these people, and I just wonder in my mind, must you go? Away from migration, some people also do human trafficking, where they see it as a business. Let's talk about that. We are ladies. Yeah. So let's look at it. Well, you see, for the human trafficking angle, the same push and pull factors actually push it. You have those who see it as a business and are preying on the willingness or the ignorance of women and children especially. And primarily, you're looking at the same factors. Unemployment. You're looking at greed as well. You're looking at economic situations prevailing in the society. And one thing that we both discussed before we even came on air is also the fact that a lot of people have decided inadvertently not to change their mindset or make use of their minds. And so they look at the situation around them and are expecting things to happen. It is true that the situation in our country, Nigeria, may have a lot of challenges, but one thing is that the traffickers decide that, okay, you decide Nigeria is bad, we offer you an alternative. Come, bring 200,000 or bring any amount of money and we can get you a job in America. You would, like Ruth was saying, you can make up for Kim Kardashian. And you know, it's interesting. That just shows a high level of greed. If you're so skilled and you can actually make up for Kim Kardashian, what makes it impossible for you to make up for the first lady of your country?
Yes.
If you're that good. So, well, that's a major thing. But one thing that's happening is that a lot of countries of the world, including Nigeria, are going into bilateral and multilateral agreements to curb and really stem the tide of both human trafficking and irregular migration. And last year, especially in December, Nigeria really pledged to work with the EU to work on dealing with this issue. It's a great menace and it needs to be changed.
Okay, because looking at all of these things, both the migration, illegal migration, loads of people are destitute. People that have homes, they have where to put their heads on. But because I must travel out, and you know, they must see that I'm outside the country. They pass through the Mediterranean and hey, they are homeless at the end of the day. But we want to look at the role of government. Some have said that this is basically poverty had led people to take the wrong decision and to decide that they've decided that they want to look for another means of livelihood, and that has led to losing of families. But the role of government, can we talk about the role of government? What do you think government need to do right now as it is? Because it's increasing by the day. Everybody just want to jet out.
Yes. Well, for the role of government, we would believe that the government of our country would first and foremost have to think of sustainable policies and implementation, because we have quite a lot of policies that come up for different topics, but implementation will be very key. One way that implementation would work is to work with non-governmental organizations. Collaborations with a lot of media campaigns need to go out about the dangers, about opportunities, because there are actually a lot of opportunities that exist. In the course of our research, we have found a bit which we actually do encourage people to communicate, and we also are also encouraging of media houses to get on board and join this. The government of the country can only do so much. You can put in place policies, you can work with other people, but then the people themselves at the end of the day hold the power to change their lives.
What makes people feel you can make it in the country? I think, Ruth, you need to, what makes someone feel you can just make it in Nigeria? There must be a feeling anyway. What do you think makes people sit down and feel, I can make it, it's not going to work? What makes people feel that way? I need to know.
Okay, like Anita has rightly said, the first thing is a mind shift. The people need to change, or our people, the citizens need to change their mindset to know that I can actually make it in my country, Nigeria. And another thing is this, there's peer pressure and the factors of, those that are abroad, they make better money, those that are abroad, they make things are easier abroad, sorry to say, I beg your pardon, that things are easier abroad. And another thing I've also discovered is the investments made by these migrants. Some of them are over there, but they invest a lot in real estate. Another thing is flashy cars, the lifestyle that they live, will feel, is better abroad than in Nigeria.
So where do we start from? Where do we start from? Where do we start educating people about the danger? Because crossing the Mediterranean, some of them are now disappointed when you get close to the Mediterranean. Hey, you're being turned back, or you're being thrown into the sea, or something.
So it's very simplistic. It's even worse than that. But if it was that simple, it would actually not be this bad. It is heinous. Lives, you know, when lives are torn apart and you see people, you bury people, you see people buried alive beside you, the stories that we have read, that we've seen, and even testimonials that have come in from people who have managed and succeeded in returning back are really bad. So where do we start from, you asked, Vera? And I would say right with what we're doing right now. Okay. Creating the awareness on...
Look, from the home. I want to begin because some section of Nigerians are known for this kind of illicit movement and human trafficking and the rest. So parenting is key. And I think, how do we begin to even educate parents so that they can pass it down to their children?
Yes.
It's very key. How do we get that started?
You said a region of the country.
Yes.
There's a region of this country that it is culturally ingrained in them that you have to have somebody out there. If you don't have somebody out there, then you are not doing well. Somebody has to be out there, 1 or 2 person has to be out there to send remittances back home. So it starts from the home. The parents needs to be reorientated. Their mindset needs to change. And like what Anita has said, what we're doing right now is one part of it. And then we could also do the one-on-one counseling, because it's not everybody that would watch this right now, or it's not everybody that will have access to this. So we need to do one-on-one counseling, talk to these people. Where do they meet? Where do they gather? You go to the churches, you have them there. These people listen.
So we can talk. We can talk.
We need to talk.
We can organize programs.
Yes.
We'll continue with that, but we must go on this break. We'll be right back. Let's go on this break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Well, a lot of people had said that, hey, I just have to jet out. But I like what the Oba of Benin did recently. He did something very, very commendable. He cursed the land. If you're taking your word to your children as a guardian outside the country for prostitution, the curse will follow you. You know, the stain this has given that particular tribe, it's too much. And so he cursed them, and I learned the curse is working. So lots of people are changing their minds. But we want to bring to you an interview we conducted where people talked about human trafficking. Let's get that interview done now.
With an awareness with regards to trafficking in persons. That is being combined because usually the youths are the most vulnerable in this area. So we believe that if we use a day like this to arouse awareness with regards to trafficking in persons, it will go a long way. Person that is well engaged is not likely to be involved in crime, particularly young people.
About 2 months ago, the Holy Father Pope Francis called out to us to have the International Day of Prayer and Awareness Against Human Trafficking. So this is an extension of that call by way of sensitization, because we have found out that over time a lot of persons are not necessarily aware, and like scripture says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So we are trying to sensitize the populace on the dangers and the ills of human trafficking, especially in our country, Nigeria. Well, basically, the whole gamut of human trafficking is large. And I doubt there is one organization who takes care of all.
Welcome back. Loads of people, in the clerics, loads of people are not taking it easy. In this campaign against human trafficking is very important to look at that. But before you go, we want to also look at, you have said that we need to do a lot of campaigning, sensitization. What else do you think, anytime, we need to do? Because we need to drive home to these young people, instead of going to risk their lives, they can do something better for themselves in this country.
Yes, thank you, Vera. One thing that I believe that we need to do in addition to this is to actually be able to get right into the institutions and offer alternatives to irregular migration, either through regular means that you can go, and a lot of this will come, and also to show them that the opportunities that exist even within the country, and to give a sense of direction and hope.
Ruth, what else do you think we can do? Because this is very important where we begin to look at losing Nigerians is not something we should be happy with, but we need to begin to look at how we can help also, because it's a mindset.
It's a mindset.
And if you have it in your mind that I can't make it here, it's going to be trouble. We've heard where people sell their father's lands, properties, just to go, help me do document. Just, I need to go out. And you see, both the visas they don't get, the land you can't get back, you've sold your property. Some people are in the hospital right now. Lots of things that happen to lots of people. So how can we, she said we should look at the institutions, drive it through that. What else, what other means can we do?
We also need to, there has to be a lot of mind reorientation, that's one. Two, we also have to look at local opportunities as alternatives to irregular migration, because a lot of these youths do not have the right information. They do not have the access to the right information, that there are a whole lot of local opportunities in Nigeria instead of going to the abroad, like Anita has said, to make it. And we also have to also put in place sustainable policies. It's not just about putting policies in place, but how do we execute these policies to ensure that the youth tap into it? Because right there in the streets, what we see basically is frustration and hopelessness. But I believe when these things are rightly channeled, the youths will begin to see hope in Nigeria and know that there are a lot of untapped resources and opportunities in their home country.
The youth, do they embrace your campaign when you go out to educate them? Okay, maybe I should ask Eniton. Do they embrace this drive?
Well, they actually do. A lot of them are excited because it's a breath of fresh air. It's something different from the usual don't do, because we go with the message that there are other alternatives. There's hope and there's direction, and that makes them really realize. And then we also let them realize that the slay and the impression that we're giving to the outside world when we do these things is really creating a bad impression for Nigeria. And to answer the question, Vera, the campaign is being embraced very, very excitedly, and we're very excited too.
Okay. In addition to what Anita has said, what we discovered during the course of our campaign is that a lot of our youths are misinformed. They don't have access to the right information. So what we do basically is to give them the right information for them to make informed decisions. And it has been wonderful. They're
positive.
Very, very
we must wrap up
feedback.
now. Maybe one of these days we invite you again. Tell us the kind
Definitely.
of information. We need to put it out there that they need to know. We might start doing that here, and that will drive them to come and meet you in your center.
Definitely.
I want to thank Enito Ibirunke, the migration research experts. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for
and
having
also Ruth Okoiron. Thank you so much. Also migration research expert. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to invite you someday. We need to talk more on this.
We'll look forward to that.
We need to keep driving this.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Well, viewers at home, that's the end of this segment. Up next, we want to look at the impact of capital markets, looking at the growth in our economy. Nigeria, both Nigeria and other developing countries have a lot to gain from the capital market. But we want to look at why is it not stable? Why is it always fluctuating? We have an expert to tell us more on that. We'll go on this break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're looking at the impact of the capital markets in Nigeria's economy. And we're not alone in the studios this morning. We have an expert that will take us through this topic. And this morning, we have Sam Chidoka. He's the Director of Planet Capital Limited. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to see you once again.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, we're looking at the capital markets, and we know that it's been identified as this institution that drives the growth and development in Nigeria. It's a very viable institution. Let's look at it. Some of us don't know a lot about the capital market. Can this market really drive development in this country?
Okay, well, so the capital market is broad. And so when you look at the capital market as broad as it may seem, we can dimension into different aspects of the market.
Yes.
So there is the primary aspect of the market,
yes,
where you raise new funds for governments, for corporates, and all of that. Then there's the secondary aspect of the market. The Nigerian Stock Exchange, for instance, is the secondary aspect of the market, where the funds you raised or the shares that has been raised in the primary market is not listed on an exchange and is traded. Now, the capital market is generally seen as a barometer for growth, and it's seen as a barometer for an economy. So when you see an economy where the all-share index or the secondary capital market, whether it is equities or fixed income, is growing, it's assumed, it's a barometer, it shows you whether the economy is growing. There's a correlation between the growth in the economy and the growth in the market. Why? People would only invest with their disposable income. So if you have money and you have not eaten, you have not paid children's school fees, you have not bought clothes, you've not paid house rents, you can't make investments. But when people have now done the primary things they need to do and they still have funds with them, then you can make investments. So it shows you how the economy is in terms of the relationship between the market and the general economy.
So in essence, you're saying the goal primarily is to mobilize long-term funds for production purposes, right?
Yes. So the capital market is another place where people can get long-term funds. So let's take a manufacturing concern, for instance. If you go to a bank and you want to borrow, most banks will borrow short-term money. Why? Banks also receive money short-term. They don't want to have a mismatch between the funds they've received from depositors and the funds that they give to people who are borrowing money. So when a depositor comes to do fixed deposit to the bank, he will do 90 days, 360 days, 280 days, okay, you will hardly find people who give money to the bank and say, keep it for 5 years. So when a bank is going to lend, they will also want to match the tenor for which they got the money and the tenor for which they are lending, so that when the man who brought the money wants it back, he can give it back. But the capital market is a place where you can raise long-term funds. So a corporate entity can issue a bond of 5 years, can issue a bond. We've seen states issue bonds of 7 years. We're pushing the boundary now to issue securities of 10 years. The federal government has securities of 20 years. So that's stable borrowing over a long term. And in terms of cash flow implication, when the money is long term, then what you pay is less. So it's better for the company.
So when you assess the economy of Nigeria, because you said that capital market goes in line with economy. Yes. When you assess the economy of Nigeria, would you say the capital market in Nigeria is doing well?
Well, it's relative. So you have to compare. Everything about life depends on relativity. So you have to compare where we're coming from and where we are today. So at some point in the past, the Nigerian Stock Exchange all-share index was about 60,000 points at some time in 2008. It crashed from there when we had the global economic meltdown to 18,000, all the way to 16,000 points. Because there was a global economic meltdown, Nigeria was not out of it, right? But we've sort of recovered. Today, the all-share index is somewhere around over 40,000 points.
So you're saying we can actually invest, because during the period it crashed, mine too crashed. I had something in Zenith Bank. Sorry, I'm not advertising them, but that was what happened that time. And a lot of people, not even myself alone, was affected with this. Is it stable now?
Yeah, it's more stable right now. So, in fact, there's been a rally. Some people have missed that rally already, because, I mean, remember I said we went all the way down to 18,000, 16,000 points, and then it started going up gradually again. Today we are over 40,000. The last figures I saw was about 42,000 points of the all-share index. What has happened is that the market has also been on a steady climb in the last, say, 18 months to 24 months. It's been on a steady climb, right? In the last 1 month, people have started taking profits. Okay. So the market had come down a bit in the last 1 month. Because also this is earnings period. Remember, we are in April. Many banks especially, who had their end of year in December 2017, are now declaring their results. Okay. So this is earnings period. So once the result comes out, those results have been priced in because people had expectations. So now people are taking those profits. So imagine there are some stocks have gained. I'll give you an example. A stock like Fidelity Bank last year did 200%. 200% increase. Some stocks did over that. A stock like CNI Leasing last year did over 100%. So if you had bought CNI Leasing at 1 naira, say it was 1 naira last year, and you had held it for the year, you would have had a 2 naira price in 100% increase. Yeah. So people have also made money. So what has happened is that those who made that money have now decided, let me take part of it. So in the last 1 month, we've seen the market coming down, oscillating. But you see, whenever the market also comes down, is an opportunity, because as it comes down, people will enter low again, it will go up, some people will sell. So volatility creates opportunity.
So looking at all of this, because I really want you to be explicit concerning this capital market, some people don't know how to invest in it, they don't even know. Because during the period it crashed, since then a lot of people are just turning their eyes away from capital market. But let's look at what's the impact of capital market in our own economy right now as it is. What do you think is the impact? Okay, so let me separate two things. The first is to say that my advice always to individuals is the capital market, especially the securities market, equities market, is a specialist market. You don't go to a hospital and meet somebody who's not a doctor doing the services of a doctor. You need a certification. The capital market, especially the equities market, also have experts who deal in this market. What happened in the past was that people bought shares. I mean, probably they sold to you shares in your church or in your compound. No, I got someone. I don't want to name the company. You know the company. If I name it, something craft, if I still remember, I won't say it. Something craft. I got someone, a company that helps me market all of these things. But it crashed all the same. But we must also move away from that. Since then, I don't ever remember going into that kind of business again. So I felt. So we need to be educated. We need to know where we're standing in the country right now. So the point is that for individuals, my first advice is deal with professionals. First advice. Don't go. It's not Oshodi market.
This is a market of professionals. So get a stockbroker who's registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, who's registered with the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and do your dealings through that stockbroker and listen to their advice. That's the first thing. Secondly, the capital market, especially the equities market, is a place for long-term investments. So when people go and put their house rent to buy stock, that's a wrong investment. There is the money market investment, money market that you can do also. So you can buy treasury bills, which have guaranteed returns and will never go down. The stock market, you can gain a lot of money. There's a maximum. The higher the risk, the higher the return. So if you want to make more returns, you can invest in the equity market, but you can also lose your money. That's why you need experts.
Yes.
So it's a balance between knowing what to invest in and when to invest in that field. And for that purpose, you need professionals. They're going to charge you money. You know, Nigerians don't like paying fees. So they're going to charge you fees. And now the fees are regulated. So the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Nigerian Stock Exchange regulate fees. And the fees are minimal. That fee could be the difference between you and losing your income. Okay. But on the broad space in terms of the economy, the capital market has a great role to play in capital formation. If you look at what's happening right now...
Because we need to know the role. We need to know.
So if you look at what's happening right now, look at the Nigerian government. They've borrowed money from the international capital market. They issued a sukuk. A sukuk actually is a bond. It's just an Islamic word for a bond. So they've issued a non-interest bond. And there is 100 billion for which they have shared to the 6th geopolitical zone and fixing particular infrastructure. So that's the advantage that the capital market brings. Now that money that they've raised, they're going to pay it off over a long time at a fixed rate and at a reduced rate, lower than what they would have gotten if they went to a commercial bank. So the capital market has a serious role to play in terms of capital formation, in terms of getting capital for corporates and for governments. So whether they be sub-sovereign governments, state governments, they can borrow money from the capital market. The Lagos state government just came to the capital market in December. Federal government, they can borrow money from the Fed. They do it always. They issue bonds and the capital market buy. Corporates, companies, even a company like yours, nothing stops you from coming to the capital market if you have met the governance required. Because remember, the capital market is also very rigorous and will do introspection and review and analysis of the company before allowing it. Invest. Yes.
Okay. So what are the criteria actually that a company or organization needs to have before you can actually go and borrow money from the capital markets?
So it depends on what you want. So there's the equity side of the capital market and there's the debt side of the capital market. If you want to raise money from the equity side of the capital market, the rules are bound. And one of the rules that you have to meet is that your shares should be listed on an exchange. Okay? So the first thing you want to do is to make sure that the company is listed. If the company is listed on the exchange, then you have the right to apply to the Securities and Exchange Commission that you want to issue more shares. You have to get the approval of your shareholders, get the approval of the board of directors, get the approvals of the SEC, and then, of course, you have to get financial advisors, and then you can issue your shares in the market. If you're looking at the bond market also, it's the same thing. There's due diligence required by the SEC. You must get approval. Everything that is done in the capital market is done with seriousness, requiring approval, regulatory approval, and requiring that you meet all the rules and conditions, which there are a lot of rules.
Okay, once money is taken from the capital market, do they follow up? Do you find out what this monies are used for? Do they do an investigation into it? Or you just go, like the Lagos State did the bond, you just go get, and that's it? Is that how it's done?
No, that's not how it's done. So that is what we call post-offer compliance, and it's the Securities and Exchange Commission that does that, SEC. I'll give you an example. In 2013, my firm raised money for Niger State government, 12 billion naira through a bond issue. So it was done 5 years ago. Just a few days ago, we got a letter from the Securities and Exchange Commission saying they are going to Niger State to go and be sure that the money Niger State borrowed 5 years ago, for which they listed the projects they were going to invest in, that those projects are still up and running. Now, they've done it before. They're just going for another visit again. So there is regulation. There is constant review. You can't take money from the capital market and just use it for what you like. You can't finance your lifestyle from the capital market. You can't take money from the capital market and marry new wives. That's not going to happen. The regulators are going to come. The regulators are going to continue insisting that they see the projects and that the project is ongoing even years after you've raised that money.
So basically, the capital market is not really meant for organizations or individuals that want to invest or want to invest or borrow at the short term.
No. So then again, that's why I say the capital market has different. So if you look at it as, so there's the capital market, but if you look at financial systems and you look at it in terms of a place for long-term borrowing, there's also the money market. In the money market is a space where you can get short-term borrowings and short-term investments. So if somebody says today that, listen, I want to pay my house rent this time next year, so I want to save money over time to be able to pay my house rent. My advice to the person is find an asset management company and give them money on a monthly. Say your house rent is 200,000. You say, okay, every month I'm going to put 5,000 or 10,000. They will take that money and invest it in money market instruments, government securities, treasury bills, and then short-term securities.
Yes.
And over the next 1 year, you'd have made profits, you'd have made income on that. And when you want to redeem, the day you write them you want to redeem, they give you back your money plus interest. So there are different strata of the market. But if you're going to the equities market is a place for long-term investments and long-term capital. If you're going into the debt capital market, it's mainly a place for mid to long-term capital. But there's the money market aspect, which is a place for short-term, more short-term. But in all of this, my first rule of thumb, get a professional to advise you.
To advise you on that. I know that lots of people talk about trading in securities by giving them access to the public listing. Can you talk about that? I need to get educated on that when you talk about public listing, what that's supposed to mean.
So a company can be registered as a limited liability company, and a company can also be registered as a public liability company, right? Now, for you to be listed on an exchange, there are different exchanges. Exchanges are regulated by the SEC. One of the major exchanges we have today is the Nigerian Stock Exchange, which is an exchange for equities and also for debt instruments. Now, if you want to be listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, you have to meet their minimum listing standards. They have standards that you must meet in terms of turnover, in terms of governance issues, and all of that. Once you meet those standards, you apply to them, and they list you on the exchange. Now, if you're listed on the exchange, what it does is that gives you the advantage of being able to go to the market very quickly. Because when you want to access the market, you're already listed, is an opportunity for you to go to the market. If not, when you want to go to the market, then you have to seek listing. So being listed is that your stocks are quoted on an exchange. And when your stocks are quoted on an exchange, it gives you some advantages. It gives you liquidity. So because the stock is quoted on an exchange, if I buy, let's say, GT shares today, if I want to sell tomorrow, I go back to the same exchange and sell. But if I buy the shares of Sam Nigeria Limited and it's not quoted, if I want to sell,
it's going to be a challenge. Also, you said something that is key. We must talk about it, the broker. You said we must get an expert to handle our shares.
Yes.
How do you know someone is an expert?
Okay, so once again, brokers
Yes.
and investment banks and investment companies issuing houses, all of us are regulated.
Yes.
The Securities and Exchange Commission regulates all of us. The advantage of dealing with a professional registered firm, and how can you find know whether people are registered? On the website of the Securities and Exchange Commission, they have a list of all the companies that are registered and in good standing with them. There is a concept of good standing in the capital market. So you go to their website, you be sure that your would-be broker is registered and has a good standing with the SEC. Now, if in the course of doing business with that broker, you have any issues, all you need to do is simply write to the SEC to say, I did this with this person and this is what happened. And they will enter into arbitration, they will resolve it and make sure that you don't lose out in your investment. So there is a fallback place. What's the fallback place? The regulator. And that's why you need to deal with professionals.
What advice do you have? Because we're rounding up. Well, you wanted to ask a question.
Okay, yeah, we have generally, like you said, the economy determines the capital market to some extent. Is there any way that the capital market has actually improved the economy in Nigeria?
Yes, because if you look at it in terms of raising capital, so I'll give you another example. Let's say a company wants to build a new factory. And you know that when the company builds that new factory, they're going to employ people. When they build that new factory, they're going to get a construction company to construct the factory. That construction company will employ people. Then they're going to create direct and indirect jobs. When you get to the site, you find women that are selling food at the site. When they finish the factory, they are going to employ people. To stop that factory, they need to buy raw materials. Some of them are local, some of them are foreign. The local one, perhaps they will source from other manufacturers or farmers if it is something you get from a farm. For the farmers to provide for them, they will need to farm. To farm, they will employ labor. So there's a multiplier effect with the fact that he raised money from the capital market to build a factory and will produce goods and services, provide jobs in the economy, and ensure that gross domestic product is on the upside. That's how the capital market...
Okay, finally, we must leave now. What advice do you have for the government looking at the way we're running our capital markets in Nigeria and comparing it with that of the outside world? Do you think we're par? Do you think we're getting it right? And if we're not, what do you think we need to do now? Final word.
Well, so it depends again what you mean by being at par.
Okay.
Remember that Nigeria is not a full, it's not a developed
We're
country.
developing.
We're developing.
Yes.
And the capital market has not been left. I think that the capital market has done pretty well over the years.
Okay.
I think that we've continued to see improvements, and I just believe that we need to continue to go in that direction. One of the things we need to continue to do is to institutionalize the market.
Okay.
So I give you an example. If you go to most of Europe, you can't of your own accord go directly to buy shares. You must do it through a broker. So we're getting there also now where you can't deal directly. You must use a broker and stuff like that. So as much as we continue to institutionalize the market, insist on rules and regulation, insist on regulators running the market, insist on professionals, people who know what they're doing, who are certified by the SEC, certified by the exchanges to do things, the market will only continue on an upward trajectory.
We want to say thank you to Sam Chidoka. He's the director of Planet Capital Limited. Thank you for coming on this segment today. You've really broadened our mind. I think I need to get through to you behind the camera so we can talk more about the markets and shares. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Well, viewers at home, up next, it's SuperDawn Sport. Something happened yesterday. Yes, I saw that match and it was fantastic. Before that time, I told my colleague here that Juventus was going to give them, because it started the previous day with the previous one where Messi couldn't Messi himself. But yesterday's match was something else. I'll allow the sports people to take over this segment. We'll be right back. Stay with us.